I married the same man 7 times, and for the sake of his white moonlight, my husband divorced me 7 times as well. When we got married the first time, he said to me, "For the rest of my life, I will only love you." But every time his white moonlight returned to the country, the man would change his tone. "Can't you be a little more sensible? Do you really want Virginia to bear the reputation of seducing a married man?" The first time we divorced, I slit my wrist in an attempt to force him to stay. I was sent to the hospital by ambulance, yet he never once came to see me. The third time we divorced, I humbled myself and applied for a job as his assistant at his company, just so I could have the chance to see him a little more often. By the 6th divorce, I had already learned to quietly pack my things and move out of the house we once shared. My hysteria, my repeated concessions, my obedient compromises, what they brought me was the man remarrying me again and again on schedule, and repeating the same old tricks again and again, until this time, after receiving the news that his white moonlight was about to return to the country. I personally handed him the divorce agreement. As usual, he casually set a time with me for remarriage, but what he didn't know was, this time, I would leave for good. Chapter 1. Virginia has returned to the country. Let's get divorced. With a blank expression, I handed the divorce agreement, already signed by me, to my husband Joel. For a brief moment, the man looked stunned, but he quickly regained his composure and signed his name on the agreement with practiced ease. This was the first time I had taken the initiative to hand him the divorce papers. Yet just like the previous 6 times, he casually made the same promise. "Once she leaves in a month, I'll remarry you." In the past, those words never gave me the sense of security I wanted. I might even have forced him to swear an oath or put it in writing. But this time, my heart remained completely calm. So calm that I didn't even feel the desire to respond. "Miriam, are you listening to me?" Joel frowned, clearly displeased by my silence. I had no choice but to nod. But my hands didn't stop moving. I folded my clothes one by one and packed them into the suitcase. Whenever Joel said we would remarry, he always kept his word. In the industry, he was known for honoring his promises. That was undeniable. It just so happened that our relationship hardly resembled a marriage. Instead, we were more like Party A and Party B of a contract, periodically terminating and renewing our agreement. Each time we dutifully signed papers called marriage certificates and divorce certificates. 2 such contracts every year. Up until now, I had signed 12 of them. I still remembered how he told me at our wedding that he would never betray me during our marriage, and he had indeed kept that promise. After all, once we divorced, who he chose to be with was his freedom. The price was simply that I became a toy in the social circle, someone he could summon whenever he wished and discard whenever he pleased. Yet my unusual calm today seemed to make Joel uneasy. After all, during our previous divorces, my hysterical behavior, even the times I hurt myself, had left a deep impression on him. Watching me pack my luggage faster and more skillfully than the last time, he spoke awkwardly. "Maybe, this time I should move out instead." Click. The large suitcase snapped shut, interrupting Joel before he could finish. I already told my best friend I'll stay at her place for a few days, but Joel seemed to suddenly remember something. His expression turned even worse than before. "You're not planning to play hard to get again, are you? Pretending to be an assistant so you can sneak into my company and keep watch on me? Miriam, can't you have a life of your own? Can't you live without a man?" In that instant, I understood the meaning behind his words. He simply didn't want me going to his company and interfering with the sweet time he planned to spend with Virginia. After all, Virginia rarely returned to the country. Joel naturally wanted her to stay by his side every moment. In the position of executive assistant. Chapter 2. After our second divorce, I successfully applied to become Joel's assistant, holding a latte made exactly the way he liked it. I pushed open the door to his office full of anticipation. What I saw, however, was Joel passionately kissing Virginia as she sat on his lap. I lost control and lashed out at Virginia. Joel slapped me across the face, knocking me to the ground. Outside the office, a crowd had gathered to watch the commotion. Everyone still believed I was the president's wife, and their eyes toward Virginia were filled with undisguised contempt. In order to prevent Virginia from becoming the subject of gossip, Joel ignored my tearful head shaking. snatched my handbag away, and dumped everything inside onto the floor. The dark red divorce certificate lay there like a gaping mouth, revealing to everyone the true relationship between Joel and me. From that day on, every time we divorced, Joel would announce it publicly on his social media. Everyone knew that the woman Joel loved was Virginia, and that I was the shameless one who refused to leave his side. But this time, Joel's worry was unnecessary. Without hesitation, I picked up my suitcase. "Don't worry, I won't come back to disturb you again." Joel stared at me suspiciously for a moment. Only when I pulled the door open and stepped out did he hurriedly remind me, "Don't forget, we're remarrying on the 13th next month." I couldn't help but pause in a daze. What a coincidence. The day I was leaving the country was also the 13th. Chapter 3. After Virginia returned to the country, Joel truly never thought of me again. And I also stopped acting like I used to after every divorce, frantically tracking Joel's whereabouts and trying to appear at every place he might go. Instead, I spent carefree days with my best friend Roxana. Hot pot with milk tea every meal. Late night barbecue skewers with beer. Before I knew it, there were only 20 days left before my departure abroad. That day, Roxana and I were waiting for our food in a restaurant when we unexpectedly ran into Joel and Virginia. Joel had his arm wrapped around Virginia's waist. The two of them walked in laughing and chatting, looking perfectly matched. "Miriam?" Joel's gaze immediately locked onto me. Virginia wrapped her arms affectionately around Joel's neck and smiled sweetly. "Miriam, what a coincidence. You're here for dinner too?" When she noticed my gaze on Virginia, Joel instinctively stepped forward and shielded her behind him. I knew he was afraid that I would do what I had done before, rush forward and attack Virginia. But not only did I not do that, I even held back Roxana, who was about to stand up for me. I simply smiled indifferently. Yes, what a coincidence. Sensing my retreat, Virginia's smile became even more brazen. "I'm sorry, Miriam. Joel promised to reserve this place just for me tonight, so I'm afraid you'll have to find somewhere else to eat." She shook Joel's arm coquettishly. "Right, Joel? You should say something, or Miriam might think I'm deliberately targeting her." When Joel met my calm gaze, hesitation flashed across his face. But in the end, he nodded at me. He didn't say a single word, yet it was worse than saying many. Roxana had already rolled up her sleeves, but I gently pressed down on her arm. "It's fine, we can go somewhere else. Somewhere else. Somewhere without Joel." With my departure abroad approaching, I didn't want to waste any more time arguing with my ex-husband. After all, as a proper ex, shouldn't I treat Joel like he was already dead? The restaurant manager stepped forward at just the right moment and flattered Joel and Virginia. "You two look so loving together. It's really enviable." Hearing that, Joel cast a complicated glance toward me, as if wary of what I might say, or curious about what I wanted to say. But I acted as if I hadn't heard anything. Taking Roxana's hand, I stood up and left. Joel clearly hadn't expected that I would react so calmly. He stared blankly at my retreating back. Virginia called his name several times. By the end, impatience had already crept into her voice. Only then did he reluctantly withdraw his gaze. Chapter 4. I thought the encounter at the restaurant would be my last interaction with Joel before leaving the country. But on the very night I officially resigned from my position as Joel's assistant, I unexpectedly received a video call from him. It was such an unprecedented event that I forcibly stopped myself from hanging up immediately and instead switched the call to voice. The man's voice clearly carried dissatisfaction. "Why did you switch to voice?" I replied casually. "I'm not wearing makeup. It's inconvenient for video." The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them a little. After all, the saying "women dress up for the ones they want to please" made it sound as if I still wanted to please him. Sure enough, Joel laughed, suddenly sounding in a much better mood. "We've been married so many times already. What is there about you that I haven't seen?" His flirtatious tone made me extremely uncomfortable, so I asked coldly, "What do you want?" The man immediately sensed the distance in my voice. He instinctively stopped lounging and sat up straight. "I heard from HR that you resigned." I responded with a simple without intending to explain. Silence filled the line. Joel spoke in a teasing tone, but it sounded like he was simply trying to fill the awkward quiet. "Maybe it's for the best. I mean, you could have just lived as the president's wife." but instead you insisted on becoming an assistant. That's just asking for hardship. But honestly, you were pretty casual about the job. I barely ever saw you in the office. Yet I still had to pay your salary every month. The whole company knew you got the job through connections. They all said I was playing favorites. I interrupted him impatiently. Don't you have Virginia to keep company? Joel muttered without thinking. I'm not actually involved with her. What's there to keep her company for? Then he fell silent, because suddenly he realized I was nothing more than his ex-wife. Joel instantly felt a bit guilty. The divorce. I'm sorry. I just thought if we didn't divorce, people would talk badly about Virginia. I nodded. Virginia shouldn't be the subject of gossip. So naturally, I was the one who had to become a laughingstock, the topic of idle gossip in our social circle. My voice turned even colder. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Wait! Joel's tone suddenly became anxious. The 12th is our wedding anniversary. There's a concert that day. I know you wanted to go. I'll go with you. We can listen together. Okay? For a brief moment, I almost told him the truth. But before I could speak, Virginia's distant voice came from the other end of the call. Joel, I forgot my towel. Can you bring it to me? Joel didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stared at my name on the phone screen, clearly caught in a dilemma. I urged him expressionlessly. Go ahead. Only then did he slowly stand up. Though he didn't hang up the call. Miriam, wait for me. I'll be right back. Then he walked toward the bathroom, just as I expected. I heard the sound of Joel and Virginia kissing. Joel let out a muffled groan, and the bathroom door slammed shut. With a mocking smile, I hung up the call. At that moment, Roxana excitedly called out, asking me to go dancing at a bar. Without hesitation, I put down my phone and linked arms with her. After all, there were still so many things in this world that could bring me joy. In the past, I had been blinded by obsession. Now that he had truly become part of my past, why should I waste another moment worrying about that man? Chapter 5. Life without Joel passed quickly. Before I realized it, there were only a few days left before I left the country. Although we had no direct contact, I still heard bits and pieces about him and Virginia from Roxana. Apparently, he and Virginia had a huge argument. He even stormed out of a banquet, slamming the door without caring about Virginia's dignity. There were even rumors that the reason for their argument was me. I simply smiled indifferently when I heard that. I was no longer the hopeless romantic I once was, refreshing social media countless times a day, trying to catch every clue about Joel and Virginia from their posts or from anyone in our circle who knew them. Back then, the moment I sensed the slightest crack in their relationship, I would rush to Joel's side, to tell him that I was the one who loved him the most. But couples in love always fight and make up. So what if their argument was because of me? Wasn't I always just a prop in their game? However, since then, Joel began calling me more and more frequently. Unfortunately for him, I either hung up immediately, or refused to meet him with various excuses. Chapter 6. Until the day before I left the country, Joel invited me to go to a concert with him. I've already bought the tickets. Let's meet tonight, okay? Today is our wedding anniversary. You won't refuse me again, will you? He had never spoken to me so humbly before. In the past, he would casually take one step toward me, and in order to please him, I would rush forward and complete the remaining 99 steps, only to realize in the end that even that single step, for Virginia, Joel would take back. But I truly didn't know what to say, because today was not our wedding anniversary. It was the day we remarried for the 4th time. After so many separations and reunions, I was the only one who carefully remembered every detail related to him. But in the end, I still agreed. After all, I really wanted to attend that concert. Yet that night, I waited and waited at the entrance of the concert venue, and Joel never appeared. I opened the voice message he had just sent. His apologetic voice came through, mixed with the noisy sounds of the concert venue, and faintly accompanied by Virginia's soft laughter. I'm sorry, Miriam. Virginia suddenly felt unwell, so I took her to the hospital. We'll have countless anniversaries in the future. When Virginia leaves tomorrow, I'll do whatever you want with you, okay? The concert finally began. A gentle melody drifted out of the venue. Thank you for inviting me to witness your love. I keep reminding myself not to run away. I closed the chat window and opened my social media feed for the first time in a month. Virginia had posted a few minutes earlier. Her selfie with Joel at the concert immediately caught my eye. I let go of all my memories to fulfill your love. Yet I still refuse to believe that this is fate. The song continued to play, as if mocking me for the small flicker of hope I still had. When I agreed to Joel's invitation, when I made my way here tonight, and now, that final trace of hope was completely shattered. 7 divorces. I should have understood long ago, shouldn't I? Fortunately, this would finally be the last time. Without a trace of attachment, I turned and went to the airport, where I sat the entire night. At 7 in the morning, I checked in for my flight. Joel sent me a message asking when we would remarry. I didn't reply. Instead, I casually deleted him from my contacts. Chapter 7. At 8 in the morning, I was standing in line to board the plane. Joel called. I didn't answer. Instead, I blocked his number. At 9 in the morning, I was already seated on the plane. The flight attendant reminded everyone to switch their phones to airplane mode. Just then, I received a call from Roxana. Joel's tense voice came from the other end of the phone. Miriam, where are you? Goodbye. Ex-husband. I hung up decisively and turned off my phone. As the roar of the airplane engine filled my ears, I finally felt a sense of relief, as if everything had settled into place. Joel stood in Roxana's apartment, staring at the phone that had just been hung up. His expression was blank. His voice was hoarse, as if he were trying hard to suppress something. Where did she go? Roxana crossed her arms and let out a cold laugh. Oh, now you finally want to ask? She left. Left? What do you mean? Where did she go? Roxana shrugged and smiled mischievously. Do you really think I'd tell you? Joel's gaze instantly turned cold. Roxana, I don't have time to play games with you. Oh, getting anxious now? Roxana rolled her eyes and walked to the door, pulling it open. Leave. You're not welcome here. Joel remained standing where he was, his expression dark and uncertain. We agreed to remarry today. She can't just disappear like this. Oh, remarry? Roxana covered her mouth dramatically and laughed. Joel, what do you think a marriage certificate is? A supermarket loyalty card? If you collect 7 of them, do you get a prize? Joel's pupils shrank sharply, as if she had struck a thought he refused to admit, but he quickly suppressed his emotions and said coldly, You'd better tell me where she is. She even blocked your number. Can't you see it yet? Roxana lifted her chin mockingly. Joel, Miriam isn't coming back. Joel finally lost his patience. He slammed his palm hard against the armrest of the sofa. She can't just disappear like this. What happens between us is none of your business. Oh, none of my business? Roxana sneered. She pulled a stack of documents from a drawer and threw them in front of him. Then take a look at these and see whether you still have any right to interfere in her life. Joel lowered his head. His breathing suddenly stopped. There was my resignation letter, my bank account closure records, and a one-way plane ticket with the destination deliberately obscured. Do you understand now? Chapter 8. Roxana laughed cruelly. Joel, she's completely given up on you. Joel's fingers tightened until his knuckles turned white. His voice squeezed out through clenched teeth. She can't leave. You don't deserve to keep her. Roxana shoved him hard and pushed him straight out the door. Now get out. At the airport, the plane had already taken off. Joel's car sped to the airport like a madman. He rushed straight into the terminal but was stopped by the staff. Sir, you can't go in. Joel's face turned deathly pale. He immediately pulled out his business card. I'm the chairman of a major corporation. Stop all flights immediately. The staff member looked helpless. Sorry, sir, the flight has already taken off. If you need anything, you can contact the airline to reschedule. Joel shoved the man aside and immediately called his assistant. Find out where Miriam went. Now, immediately. On the other end of the phone, the assistant replied nervously. Boss. Miss Miriam's ticket was purchased anonymously. We can't find the destination. Chapter 9. Joel felt as if the blood in his veins had frozen. She had actually gone this far? Joel immediately contacted a private investigation agency. You must find her. His voice was hoarse, his eyes bloodshot, as if he had finally realized. This time, I truly didn't want him anymore. Joel returned home mechanically. The moment he pushed the door open, he smelled a familiar fragrance of food, sweet lotus root and pork rib soup. It was Miriam's specialty. His heart suddenly skipped a beat, and a flash of wild joy appeared in his eyes. Miriam, you're back? He almost stumbled as he rushed into the kitchen, his eyes filled with excitement and anticipation. But the moment he saw the person in the kitchen, his expression froze. The smile on his face faded little by little. It wasn't her. Virginia stood there in a white silk nightgown, slowly stirring the soup in the clay pot. When she saw him return, she immediately revealed a sweet smile. Joel, you're back? All his hope vanished instantly. Joel's face turned cold. Didn't you already go back overseas? He clearly remembered sending Virginia to the plane himself. I came back. Virginia put down the ladle and stepped closer, her slender fingers sliding onto his chest. Joel, I couldn't bear to leave you. I want to be with you. This time, I'm not leaving. She raised her head, determination shining in her eyes. Let's get married. Joel looked at her as if he had heard the most ridiculous joke. He shoved her away. Married? Virginia, who do you think you are? Virginia's face stiffened. What do you mean? I mean, Joel's voice was cold as ice. The person I want to remarry is Miriam, not you. Impossible. Virginia screamed. Joel, you dumped Miriam for me so many times. Now you're pretending to be devoted? A flash of embarrassment crossed Joel's eyes before it turned into deeper coldness. I divorced her just to protect your reputation, not because I loved you. If you hadn't kept clinging to me all these years, Miriam wouldn't have left. Virginia's face turned deathly pale before flushing bright red. You're lying. If that's true, why did you remarry her every single time? Because. Joel suddenly stopped. A moment of confusion flickered in his eyes. Because I promised her. Only then did he realize. The person he had truly cared about all along was the Miriam who waited at home for him with shining eyes. Virginia suddenly burst into laughter, her voice sharp and piercing. Joel, have you finished pretending? Chapter 10. She stepped closer and closer. Who was the one kissing me in the office? Who rushed to find me every single time after you divorced? Do you really think you can lie to yourself? You clearly love me. Joel suddenly grabbed her wrist, gripping so hard it felt as if he might crush the bone. Shut up. Did I hit the truth? Virginia endured the pain, her eyes filled with venom. Now that Miriam couldn't stand your hypocrisy and left, you suddenly want to pretend to be devoted? You deserve it. She screamed hysterically. You deserve to never find her again for the rest of your life. Joel's eyes turned blood red. He raised his hand and slapped her hard. The sharp sound of the slap echoed through the empty villa. Virginia staggered back a few steps, clutching her cheek in disbelief. You dare hit me? I told you before. Joel's voice was terrifyingly cold. If you hadn't provoked Miriam again and again, she wouldn't have left. Now you will leave this country. Immediately. He pulled out his phone and called his bodyguards. Come here now. Escort Miss Virginia back to where she belongs. Virginia panicked completely. You can't treat me like this. Joel, I love you so much. Her words were cut off by the sound of the front door opening. 2 bodyguards in black dragged her outside. Her screams gradually faded into the night. Joel stood there silently, looking at the overturned bowl of soup on the floor. He slowly crouched down. The fragrance of lotus root and pork rib soup spread through the room, just like the person who would never return again. Chapter 11. When the plane landed on a foreign runway, I looked at the unfamiliar scenery outside the window and felt as if a lifetime had passed. As soon as I walked out of the passageway, I saw my father's slightly hunched figure. The once formidable business tycoon now had completely white hair at his temples. The moment he saw me, his eyes instantly turned red. Back then, when the company expanded overseas, I insisted on staying in the country to marry Joel. I defied my father and even cut off contact with my family. It had been 6 years since I last saw them. Dad. I choked with emotion and threw myself into his arms. I was such an unfilial daughter. I abandoned my family for that scumbag Joel. My father hugged me tightly. He didn't blame my stubbornness back then. He only said one sentence. "It's good that you came home." Tears welled in my eyes. Only then did I understand. My true home had always been with my parents. How could I have been so blind before? I actually treated Joel, who divorced me 7 times for his white moonlight, as my home. In the car, my father told me, "I've already acquired 17% of Joel's company shares." I shook my head. There's no need to take revenge for me. My grudges are mine to settle. It's not revenge. My father looked at me seriously. It's a welcome gift for the day you return to take over the family business. Chapter 12. 3 years later. Boss. This is the Q3 financial report. Net profit increased by 65% year-on-year. The secretary respectfully handed me the document. Wearing a tailored designer suit, I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire financial district. In 3 years, I started from the bottom and became the leader of the family conglomerate. The company's market value tripled. Even the Financial Times called me the golden touch of the business world. In contrast, Joel's company continued to decline. He was struggling with a crashing stock price. All these years, he had never stopped searching for me, until the day he saw me again, on the giant screen at my company's annual press conference. Joel stared at the 85-inch display. 3 years later, the woman on the screen walked confidently in new Jimmy Choo heels. Her sharply tailored Max Mara suit made her silhouette look as sharp as a blade. When the camera zoomed in as she signed documents, the custom wedding ring he once gave her was nowhere to be seen. Book the earliest flight to New York. Joel grabbed his jacket, knocking over a cup of coffee. The dark liquid spread across the disastrous third-quarter loss report. "No, apply for a flight route. I'll use my private jet." His assistant panicked. "But you have a meeting with the bank in 30 minutes. Get out of my way." Joel's roar silenced the entire office. He stared at the screen showing me shaking hands with foreign government officials. His throat moved violently. "Tell the finance department to raise the interest rate on the pledged shares by another 2%. When the Gulfstream G650 pierced the stratosphere, I was in the executive lounge of the Four Seasons Hotel signing for a special delivery. Inside the shockproof packaging were 7 gold-stamped marriage certificates and 7 dark red divorce certificates. They gleamed mockingly under the light. A note from Roxana was clipped among them. "If he collects all of these, he thinks you'll come back to him." I calmly pressed the service bell and smiled at the approaching attendant. "Please run these through the shredder." Chapter 13. When Joel finally found me, I was having coffee with my arranged marriage partner, Zach, inside a glass conservatory cafe on 5th Avenue in New York. Zach's fingertips slowly traced the rim of his coffee cup. For 3 years, the acquisition tycoon known on Wall Street as the Mad Wolf only showed such patience in front of me. 3 years and 4 months since I met you. He suddenly took a blue velvet box from the inner pocket of his suit. I've decided to stop counting the days. The moment the velvet box opened, the sunlight in the glass house seemed to gather on the emerald-cut diamond, a rare 12-carat pink diamond, surrounded by more than 20 top-grade white diamonds like stars around the moon. I had someone retrieve it from a Swiss bank last month. He lifted my wrist, which wore a slim business watch. "It suits you better than I imagined." The right hand that had signed countless merger contracts was trembling slightly with nervousness. Zach spoke carefully. "If you don't want to wear it on your ring finger yet, it can be a necklace first." I smiled and shook my head. Just as I was about to let him place the ring on my finger, a sudden crash of shattering tempered glass interrupted my words. Amid flying shards of glass, Joel burst in like a wild beast out of control. His handmade leather shoes crushed the broken glass with a grating sound. "Miriam!" His bloodshot eyes locked onto the hands Zach and I had clasped together. "You're my wife. What do you think you're doing? This is bigamy. It's illegal." Zach knew everything about Joel and me. He recognized Joel instantly and stepped forward to shield me. "You and Miriam divorced long ago. She's a free woman now. She can marry whoever she wants." "Shut up." Joel slammed his palm onto the table, knocking over a cup of coffee. The coffee dripped down onto his suit trousers. "She's my wife." Joel glared at Zach through clenched teeth. "What the hell are you? You think you're worthy of touching her? So what if we divorced? Miriam promised to remarry me. I came here today to take her home." Zach was about to argue further, but I tugged lightly at his sleeve and shook my head. I looked at Joel as if he were a stranger. "Joel, Our 7th divorce happened 3 years ago. His eyes shook violently, as if trying to process the fact. You're only saying that to make me angry, right? You promised you'd remarry me. You still love me, don't you, Miriam? It was all Virginia. She seduced me. That's why I divorced you again and again and hurt you. I've already punished her. He pulled out his phone and showed a video. In the video, Virginia stood by the window of a psychiatric hospital. Her face was swollen and deformed from long-term medication side effects. She stared blankly out the window. I forced her into prostitution and sent her to a psychiatric hospital. Joel explained urgently. You hate her, so I made her pay the price. You think I left you because of Virginia? Chapter 14. I suddenly laughed. Then let me tell you, I don't care, just like I stopped caring about you a long time ago. Zach took my hand at the right moment. Our fingers interlocked. I saw Joel staring at our hands as if they had burned him. We're getting married next month, I said calmly. I hope you'll give us your blessing. Zach, usually calm and composed, instantly lit up with joy like a young boy. Joel's lips began to tremble. Suddenly he lunged forward like a drowning man and grabbed my arm. No. Miriam, you can't do this. You can't marry him. You promised you'd love me forever. Please don't leave me. Please don't marry someone else. I looked at him and said softly. 7 years ago, when you divorced me for Virginia for the first time, I knelt and begged you just like this. I slit my wrists trying to make you stay. Blood covered half the room. But you walked out to find Virginia without even turning your head. Even the ambulance was called by the butler. I stayed in the hospital for a month. You never came to see me once. Zach wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Only then did I realize my body was trembling. Zach's voice was gentle and deep. It's okay, Miriam. It's all in the past. Let's go. Joel suddenly collapsed to his knees, ignoring the stares of everyone around. He clutched my legs desperately. You can't leave. I can't live without you. For 3 years I never stopped looking for you. I searched the entire world. I looked down at his disheveled hair. The face that once obsessed me was now twisted with tears and despair. Strangely, my heart felt as still as dead water. Joel, Zach said calmly, touch my fiancé again and tomorrow's headlines will be about the last 7% of your company's shares being shorted. Joel ignored him. He lifted his head, revealing a scar that ran from his forehead to his brow. Do you remember this scar? You hit me with a vase during the 3rd divorce. But I never blamed you. You deserved it. I finally spoke. Because when I opened the door that day, I saw Virginia wearing my wedding dress in our bedroom. I broke free from his grip. Before leaving, I looked at him one last time. Love isn't an apology after hurting someone. It's not a toy you put away when you're done. Joel, you never understood what love really is. Only after being truly loved did I realize how meaningless yours was. I took Zach's hand and walked out of the cafe without looking back. As Zach opened the car door for me, Joel's wailing still echoed from inside the cafe. Looking at his shrinking figure in the rearview mirror, I leaned gently against Zach's shoulder. Sunlight fell on my wedding ring, scattering rainbow light. This is what love is supposed to look like. Chapter 15. On the pink sand beaches of the Bahamas, 300 crystal chandeliers illuminated the entire private beach as bright as daylight. I wore Vera Wang's newest wedding gown, looking at myself in the mirror, more composed than I had been 3 years ago. Miss, the stylist whispered softly, there's a gentleman outside. Roxana cut her off immediately. Tell him the bride is unavailable. My fingers paused as I adjusted my veil. Joel is still outside? He's been kneeling at the entrance to the beach since last night. Roxana rolled her eyes. He says he won't get up unless he sees you. Security has tried to remove him 3 times. Through the floor-to-ceiling window. The man in the rain was soaked from head to toe. His expensive suit pants had been torn by the rough coral sand, and blood seeped from his knees. He pushed away the black umbrella the guards tried to hold over him, as if he wanted the storm to wash something away. At that moment, Zach pushed the door open, holding a tablet. On the screen were the real-time figures of Joel's family company collapsing on the stock market. Just half an hour ago, Zach had completed the acquisition of the last 7% of the company's shares. Should we let him watch the wedding livestream? Zach rested his chin on my shoulder as the screen switched to a 4K view of the church interior. His voice was as gentle as if discussing today's champagne tower. I deliberately chose the same church where you married him. I laughed and pushed away his restless hand. Childish. Miriam! A heart-rending shout suddenly came from the rain. Come out and see me. Joel had somehow broken through the first line of security. In the torrential rain, he held up a velvet box ruined by seawater. Inside was a jade ring with a strange green glow, the cheap pair of rings he had casually bought from a street stall when we married for the first time. I found out I have terminal stomach cancer. The doctor said I have at most 3 months. His voice was shattered, like crushed glass. Just take pity on me. Zach suddenly tightened his grip on my hand. This wolf of Wall Street, whose reputation terrified countless competitors, now had red eyes and trembling hands. I knew he was afraid I might still feel pity for Joel, but how could that be? I squeezed Zach's palm gently and shook my head to the butler. It's time for the ceremony. The moment the pipe organ began to play, a heavy thud sounded from the beach. Through the stained glass windows, I saw Joel collapse into the tide like a dead tree trunk. The velvet box holding the ring was carried away by the waves, drifting slowly toward the deep blue sea. Chapter 16. Joel was sent to the hospital. 3 weeks later, he died alone in a VIP ward, signing an organ donation agreement before his death. A month later, Roxana sent me a voice message. The psychiatric hospital called. Virginia bit through her own trachea this morning. In the 2nd year of my marriage, I gave birth to a beautiful daughter for Zach. Outside the window, dusk slowly settled and neon lights began to glow. Zach held our daughter in one arm while intertwining his fingers with mine. The wedding ring on my finger melted into golden light in the sunset. Those who once caused us pain eventually became nothing more than insignificant stains on the pages of a fairy tale. And the real story was continuing warmly in the palm of my hand.